Hello, you sassy Sasquatch. Welcome back to Mick. My name's Jack, the Aussie snack that smiles back, and here is today's stories. Engage with your thoughts down in the comments below, and any thoughts you have on today's video, please feel free to answer my little questionnaire in the link in the description for all your thoughts. But for now, first story. Am I the a-hole for calling the cops on my kid for having pot and then wanting to take her car away? I have custody of my oldest daughter, 18 as of last month, from a previous relationship because her mother is a heroin addict. I'll admit, my wife and I have been very strict with her since we gained custody about 7 years ago. Strict curfew, GPS tracker on her phone, no locks on doors because we don't want her to hide things, etc. We have rules, and she is expected to follow them. One rule is obviously no drugs, for very obvious reasons. I don't even want nicotine in my house. She did once, and only once, because she lost door privilege for 2 weeks. While she was away at her aunt for a birthday lunch, my wife found pot in her room. I was obviously mad, but at my wife's suggestion, I wait until she got home to talk to her. I had the weed on the kitchen table when she got home and confronted her about it. She was very standoffish, acted like it wasn't a big deal, and that I'm an a-hole for searching her room for it, etc. When I realized she didn't care at all and didn't even try to pay attention to me, I threatened to call the cops. She told me to do it, so I did. After the cops came, my daughter stormed out of the house. It's been 2 weeks since she left. She came home while my wife and I were at work to grab most of her stuff. She has moved in with her aunt, who I don't hate, but she's my ex's sister, so we've never really gotten along. I told my daughter to come home or her car is gone, which she needs to go to college in August. She hasn't responded to me. Now, edit, I just want to clarify a few things. Weed is not legal where we are. Not even close. While I support its legalization, I do not want it in my house. This wasn't the first time my daughter had brought it into the house. She had edibles that were easily accessible to my toddler. That's when we made it clear drugs are not welcome in our house. We had an agreement that if she lived at home for college, because it's just me paying for it as my ex is not able to, and room and board just cost too much, she'd have free room and board and wouldn't have to worry about her car at all, even gas. So, people's thoughts. Nata, you're the homeowner, and you get to make the rules about having or not having drugs in your home. Just remember, it sounds like your daughter may be struggling with her autonomy and will likely react to those rules. Nah, everyone sucks here. Why take away her car? If she doesn't respond, does she just not go to college? That's really stupid. Also, the GPS tracker and no door thing is so overboard. On the other hand, if she has illegal drugs that your toddler can possibly stumble on, she needs to step up and become way more responsible. Also, she's 18 and knows what she's doing is illegal. I understand why you are mad at her. Yes, you're the a-hole. As a fellow parent to a late teen, you are shooting yourself in the foot. Giving her a police record is going to badly affect her future. And for pot? Not worth it. Taking away her car so she can't go to college? Also, not only a-hole, but stupid. It's amazing. If only there was some sort of object to thwart a toddler from accessing her room to get that weed. Some sort of magical enchanting mechanism that can only be activated if someone tall enough can reach and open it. Gosh, I guess we just don't live in a society where such things exist yet. Totally fair to not want certain things in your house because yes, it's your house. And especially because you have a toddler around. But you threaten to give her a police record and deny her ability to go to college because of her reaction to the fact that you were literally giving her no space to breathe or exercise her autonomy as an adult. Like, I get GPS tracking when they're younger, maybe in their early teens, but you have given her literally no privacy in this household, or even outside of it. These actions are exactly how you make a kid go no contact with you. Anyway, next story. Am I the a-hole for not going to my sister's wedding because she got with her fiancé when he was in a relationship? My sister Leah is getting married to her fiancé Jason in October. They met in a really inappropriate way. Leah had gotten out of an abusive relationship and went to therapy. Her therapist was Jason, and they began a relationship even though he had a long-term girlfriend named Ashley. Jason broke up with Ashley and is now getting married to my sister. Leah and Jason invited me, and I declined. Leah called and asked why. I said no, and I told her that she's essentially a homewrecker and her and Jason won't work out because he'll leave her for somebody else. Their marriage was built on lies and deceit. Leah started to cry and said she knows Jason won't leave her because they're both in love. To be fair, he treats her very well and they seem happy, but I'm still not going, and everyone in my family is mad at me. I reached out to Ashley and apologized to her on my sister's behavior. Am I the a-hole? People's thoughts. Not the a-hole for not supporting the wedding, but you're the a-hole for everything else. Your sister is not a homewrecker. Jason made the choice to cheat. He is the cheater. And to reach out to someone else like that is not cool. Especially when, as I said, Jason is the one who wrecked that relationship. You're the a-hole for making her relationship and their wedding about you and your feelings. If she marries him and they end up getting divorced, then that's her business. Now everyone sucks here. They should have started their relationship after he left his spouse. But what you said to her was not necessary. You do not know if their marriage will fail. You were just stating that to hurt her. Yeah, you went way too far by reaching out to a stranger to discuss her failed marriage. That was absolutely none of your business, and unless you are Jason or Ashley, you actually have no idea what went on in their relationship or why they broke up. Nata, you put your morals before your family. That's a personal choice. And actually, I applaud you on not wanting to participate on that messy situation. This story had a lot of conflict in the comments, but most people were trying to imply a Nata. Personally, without proper info into the depths of what happened between Jason and his ex, and Leah as well coming into the mix, I do have to say Yata. Based solely on the information provided, yeah, Jason's an absolute a-hole to be cheating on his original partner and leaving for someone else, and Leah's kind of ignorant to think he won't ever do that possibly to her. But that's their decision to make, as well as their mistakes to deal with. This isn't a case of someone taking advantage of the other. Assuming Jason absolutely terminated his relationship with Leah as a therapist, because I'm pretty sure he could lose his license for doing this kind of thing without actually, trying to make sure that they're no longer seeing each other as clients beforehand. I guess this story really comes down to the moral standing we each have individually in this scenario, so I leave this question off to the comments down below. Give me some thoughts. Let's start an argument. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not listening to my brother when he told me to be quiet for his friends? I'm a 17-year-old dude. My brother, 18 years old, and I have always butted heads. Usually, it's pretty clear who's right and who's wrong, but I really don't know about this one. This happened tonight, and I've been scratching my head about it for hours, so I thought I'd post here. My brother had friends over for about 4 hours at this point. Maybe it was our small house, but I could definitely hear them loud and clear. I was on the phone with my friends, and they could hear them too. We all kind of brushed it off. It's a party, so whatever. I'm a lightsaber collector and an avid sword fighter. I wanted to show my friends some moves, and my friends really wanted to see. I headed out to the back patio, which is a straight shot to the living room, where my brother and his friends were, and began to practice. The lightsabers made noise, but it's not like they were deafening. It's like a light hum from 10 feet away. Soon after, my brother came out, and the following conversation ensued. Brother, can you keep it down? Well, are you serious? You and your friends have been loud for the past 4 hours or so. Why can't I have fun with my friends? It's bothering us. It seems to only be bothering you. I gestured to his friends who were just chilling in the living room. While my lightsabers were on, just keep it down. Whatever, diva. I continued to practice with my lightsabers until my brother's friends left. After they left, my mum barged out into the backyard and straight up grounded me. They've been intermittently scolding me ever since. My friends also said that it was kind of a dick move to brush my brother off like that. I don't know if I'm in the right here. Should I have brushed him off? Was I justified in wanting to show my friends my lightsabers? Am I the a-hole? Thoughts say, I'm as confused as you are. You both had friends over. Why did he and his friends get priority over the house and every noise and action in said house? Mum's got favoritism issues, not the a-hole. This is a story where I really feel like it needs more info. Surely you've been an absolute a-hole in the past or recently that would merit this kind of reaction from the parent. That, or it's definitely a clear-cut case of favoritism in the family. Like, damn dude, how much did you cheap out on Mother's Day last year? Let's just move on to the next story. Would I be the a-hole if I make my husband's dad fire my stepsister just because she insulted me for being a teen mom a few years ago? Yes, I was 16 when I got pregnant, and my husband was 21, but that was totally legal where we live. I just want to clarify that.
You hear that, moral police? Stand down. She said it was legal, so it's definitely okay, and not at all a case of someone taking advantage of someone's immaturity and inexperience.
I'm a 20-year-old female and my father-in-law is a lawyer, and he was looking for a secretary, and a few months ago, he hired my stepsister, who's 21, without knowing that she was my stepsister. We don't speak and haven't had any kind of relationship for more than 4 years. The point is that I don't want her to be close to my family, even if it is only work. I don't want her around. When I got pregnant at 16, she made my life hell. She told everyone that I was a who slept with men to get good grades. My husband, who's 25, his older brother was my teacher in high school, and she made everyone think that I slept with his little brother just to get good grades. Now that wasn't all. When my daughter was born, she started making comments like a paternity test was necessary because I had a crazy life back then. I literally lost my virginity to my husband, and it was obvious that my daughter was his, and she knew that. But for months, she enjoyed telling everyone those kinds of comments. I didn't want my daughter to grow up surrounded by that kind of people, so I cut off contact with her and my dad, who, influenced by her and her mum, kicked me out of his house when I got pregnant. If my husband hadn't had his own apartment, I would have had nowhere to go. What I'm trying to say is that I couldn't forgive her, and I don't want her close to my family, and that's why I want him to fire her. I know that if I tell him what she did and said in the past, he will fire her because he adores me and his granddaughter. But talking about it with my mom, she told me that what I want to do is an a-hole thing, and would do. That I have to grow up and not be so resentful, that if I do that, I would be acting like she did in the past, and now I'm confused. Would I be the a-hole? Thoughts say, you would be the a-hole, so he deserves to lose a good employee and she deserves to lose her job because she was mean to you in the past. Like, you really have to ask? Not the a-hole, just mention the past relationship to father-in-law, so if she ever makes a single comment, you can go straight to him to say it started again. Otherwise, don't engage, except as necessary professionally, and possibly ask if you can just go directly to him with communique. You're the a-hole. You don't get to tell your father-in-law who to hire or fire. If she is the same person she was, by all means, share your need to have no contact with her. And why? It is up to the father-in-law how to proceed. I personally don't get why you want to get rid of her in this position. You literally have power over her here. Look, if your father-in-law is so close to you, I do think he'd appreciate knowing the backstory you have with his employee. However, if you encouraged him or even asked of him to fire her because of your past and your disliking of her being near your life, yeah, no, you were just as scummy as she was in the past and you deserve no pity whatsoever. But take advantage of this. Either you get to have her wrapped around your little finger, and if she ever tries to do anything that you don't like, you get to go straight to the boss. Or she just ends up quitting anyway because she hates having to be around you. Either way, it's a win-win, and you don't really have to do anything necessarily. Everyone will be making their choices based on their own choices, and you don't come across as a complete a-hole in the process. I see that as a win-win. Anyway, let's go on to the next story. Am I the a-hole for selling my engagement ring? So, little backstory. My ex-fiancé and I broke up in October of 2020. I had previously lived with him and left some of my stuff in his state, thinking I'd be back. Well, we came up with an agreement that I keep the engagement ring and he keeps one of my items that he really enjoyed using. I recently was able to finally go and send his stuff back and told him I would do so if he would pay for my stuff to see sent back and I would pay for his. I asked him to pay for a box and shipping fees the same as I would have to pay. I didn't get a response for a while. Then he messages me saying he will send my stuff when I send his and give him tracking information. I then went out of town and his stuff was in the back of my mind. Well, finally, 2 weeks ago, he texts me, after having me blocked for months, saying he's tired of having my stuff and he's throwing it all out. I respond immediately because he woke me up at 4 a.m. to this message, and I say that I am out of town and will be home in 2 days and will send him tracking information then. I return home, buy a box, take pictures of all his clothes and the ring, and I tape it up. When I go to send it to him, he had blocked me once again. My friends believe at this point, because of him blocking and unblocking me, as well as him throwing my stuff out, I should just go with them to sell the ring and donate his clothes and just move on. At this point, I've already blocked him, realizing he would text when he wanted to, argue, as well as in our relationship, he was very controlling and is still trying to control certain things in my life. I can't just go get my stuff because I live about halfway across the country from him now. So would I be an a-hole for selling the engagement ring and spending the money on all my lost stuff he threw away? Comments say, you will most likely never see your stuff back, even if you send him his stuff. Consider them gone. Sell the ring and move on. That was the original agreement. If he doesn't want to give you the time of day, that's his problem. Nata. Yeah, another straightforward story of no one really being the a-hole in this scenario. Well, maybe the other guy is. It does sound like he's being a bit difficult to deal with. So despite his reasons for being so, it's still being a problem for him to ultimately have to deal with on his own fault. Next story. Am I the a-hole for sucking my thumb? Ooh, kinky. So I'm a 24-year-old female, and I have been with my boyfriend for a while. I've sucked my thumb my whole life, but I'm private about it. I have good teeth, and people even ask if I've had braces before, so you can't tell from looking at me. It's comforting to me, and I see no differently than having a binky. My boyfriend recently caught me sucking my thumb during the kinky times. I was bent over in doggy, and I got caught up in the euphoria. Why is he upset that he's clearly doing a good job? It happened naturally without me noticing. He freaked out and we had to stop. He talked to me about it the next day and told me it was weird and that I needed to stop. He said he'd pay for a therapist to help get me over my childhood trauma. I explained I don't have childhood trauma as I had a good childhood. I was never abused, and I've been doing this my whole life, but he just never noticed since I don't do it in public. He gave me an ultimatum, so I told him if it bothers him that much, we can go on a break to figure things out. I flat out told him I'm not going to stop, and I'll never stop. My parents couldn't get me to stop after years, so I won't have him take away my most important and convenient stress reliever. He called me an a-hole for choosing my thumb over him, but I think it's wrong of him to ask me for that. I wouldn't ask him to give up biting his nails. This is all a bit heartbreaking that he can't accept me as is, especially when I'm not hurting anyone. So am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, but I get where he's coming from, being surprised and angry with that. Imagine having it on and then BAM! Baby stuff! And it's not that it's bad, it's just that it was so weird and out of context for him to see that. That ruined the mood for him, so he's upset with that, and that it's the first time he's heard of it. Yeah, not the a-hole. Unusual, but harmless. And if your significant other picks his nose, bites his fingernails, farts, scratches himself, belches, you get the idea. He's in no position to criticize. Yeah, I won't deny it, my first original thoughts were, what the freak? But it's true, it clearly seems to just be a normal stress-relieving habit that we all have in some way. She's sucking her own thumb, it's not causing anyone else any pain. If it was a habit of wanting to stick her finger up his butthole, then yeah, okay, maybe he could be rightfully confused, weirded out, and a bit frustrated by it. Otherwise, I agree, you're not the a-hole. Though I think you're both being a bit dramatic with your ultimatums. Next story. Am I the a-hole for allowing my son and his boyfriend to engage in public displays of affection in front of his younger cousins? I'm a dad of two boys, 18 and 15, and my 15-year-old B has been dating his best friend, let's call him A, turned boyfriend for some months now. My son and his boyfriend have basically grown up together as neighbors, and his boyfriend has tagged along on trips with us before as his friend. We go on a trip to visit my sister, who lives down south around this time every year, right before school starts, and A has come along before as his parents go away for their anniversary. But this is the first time A is coming along as B's boyfriend. Now, when they get there yesterday night, yeah, everything's fine, and we have a nice dinner with my sister, and her two kids are both 11 and 9-year-old males. Nothing too unusual, but later that night, while everyone's watching a movie, A and B kiss a bit and cuddle on the couch like a normal couple their age, and of course, my 9-year-old nephew asks about it, and A tells his cousin that they're dating. Nephew says, okay, and no one really says anything about it. Then this morning, my sister asks to talk to me alone and starts asking me why I didn't tell her that A and B were dating and that it was totally inappropriate for them to be canoodling in front of her young sons. I tell her she's overreacting, and she tells me that she's trying to raise her kids right and doesn't think they're ready for those topics yet. We got into this huge argument over it and haven't spoken all day. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. If a kid can see Disney characters hold hetero hands, they can see your son do a cuddle. You're the a-hole. But this is from the perspective that all relationships, gay or straight, shouldn't be advertised in front of a family like that. I'd find it weird to see two children kissing casually when they're around family members. They should compose themselves. Yeah, you're an a-hole. Your son is a child. He should be focused on growing up and getting his own place where he can be as gross and cringy as he wants. By letting him be that way in your home, on your nickel, you're removing any incentive to grow up and doing him a huge disservice. I don't allow my kids to date while under my roof, and I don't understand any parent who does. Well, not the a-hole. As long as they aren't trying to reenact porn or some steamy scene from a soap opera, let them be. If a heterosexual couple can kiss and cuddle on a couch and no one throws a fit, then two teenagers can too. Yeah, look, it was one thing for the mother not to be comfortable with some young kids making out in front of her children, but it's an entirely other thing when it's basically because of the fact that they're gay. Totally not the a-hole in that regard completely. Next story is darting over into dating advice. Boyfriend who's 18 of a week got I'm a 24-year-old male, name tattooed on his stomach, and I flipped my schmidt. Okay, so my boyfriend is a bit feminine. He's into like skirts and crop tops and stuff, and we've been dating like a week, and he got my name, full name, which is a pretty unique one, tattooed across his lower stomach, where it's like right above the line of most pants on his stomach. And look, I kind of flipped out because we've literally been dating a week, but now I feel guilty for freaking out, even though it's weird and a freaking and way too soon stuff for like that, and now he's like blaming me for it because I said I was serious about us. Like, you can be serious without doing batshit insane stuff though, but he doesn't want to hear that dirt. So this is kind of a mess, and I don't know if this is a deal breaker, or what I'm supposed to do, or if I maybe came off as too rude over it, but I'd really like some advice, because this is freaky, deaky stuff. So TLDR, like, a boyfriend got a visible tattoo on stomach of my name, and I flipped the frick out. Now I feel guilty, but I'm still freaked and need advice on what to do next. Some advice. Yikes, that is batshit crazy and completely flip-out worthy. It's concerning he thinks this is a reasonable thing to do. Some people are in love with being in love. They want to be with someone so much they create a fantasy, and you've just been slotted in. I'm not saying you're not great, but he barely knows you. He is acting like an erratic teenager. Go figure. Unfair to do that to you, though. The expectations that come with that is just not okay. It's pretty manipulative if you ask me. But he is a child. He is making childish decisions. This should not really be a massive surprise to you that he is not reasoning like an adult. Yeah, I have to completely disagree that this kid is trying to purposely manipulate this 24-year-old. Like, unless they have a lot of dating experience underneath their belt, or they're some, quite sociopathic person in general, you aren't manipulative at that age. You're just completely ignorant to your stupidity and bad choices. This could be the start of a huge snowball effect of unnecessary levels of affection when you're not really ready for it, or they could just be living in a relationship that's 3 months into the future right now. And so they might just be wanting to express themselves freely and are totally fine with you taking your time to catch up to them. Ultimately, it is up to you in a relationship to want to see how things go. But yes, I mean, at least in my experience, at this rate, things will only get worse, especially if it's things that you aren't fully on board with doing with them. Back to the a-holes. Am I the a-hole for refusing to stop posting videos of me trying on the clothes I modify? So I'm a 14-year-old female and have a small following on YouTube. My parents are aware of the content I post, and it's mostly about me making cheap clothes look better. Well, I hope they look better, and some study vlogs. However, in the videos in which I modify clothes, I show myself buying the clothes, either online or in street shops, then planning out the modifications, then cutting, sewing, stitching, all that, and finally trying on the clothes. And the trying on the clothes is where the problem came in. Keep in mind that these clothes were never too revealing, short, or anything of the sort. One of my IRL friends, we'll call her A, stumbled on my channel recently when another friend of ours mentioned it on a Discord chat as a joking way of promoting it. Now, my country still hasn't allowed schools to open and is still in lockdown, so I haven't actually seen A face-to-face in like a year and a half. During that time, my appearance has changed drastically. I've grown from 4'10" to 5'4", and I look a lot thinner because of that. I am slightly underweight. I have been my whole life. Thanks for the genetics, Mum. And my family does comment on it a lot, saying I look too thin. Now, regardless of this, it's not a topic I focus on in my videos. I have never mentioned anything about my diet, weight, body image issues, or anything of the sort. I also do not go out of my way to display my thinness. I don't know how to frame this. When I model the clothes, I wear the clothes just to show how they look on a person. So A watched my videos, I don't know how many or which ones, and sent me a DM the next day. Very flowery, and in a very roundabout way, that I need to put trigger warnings on my clothing makeover videos. When I told her I didn't understand her point, she said that she was an advocate of body positivity, and my videos were portraying an unrealistic and unhealthy body type which could make my viewers insecure, potentially leading to eating disorders. She also implied my body was the product of an eating disorder, and that while she was sure that it was not my intention, I should take measures to prevent it. I told her that she was being a hypocrite, and that if she didn't like my body, then she was under no obligation to suffer through my videos. She then posted screenshots of our conversation on the grade wide chat, calling me a bunch of insults. I later got DMs from other friends that she had messaged them privately to talk to me about my videos and request me to take them down because I would only listen to thin people. This is totally A just projecting her insecurities right now. I texted her and told her that she was being unreasonable and to apologize and delete the message in which she insulted me to our entire grade. She blocked me, and my friends told me she called a shared friend crying, saying that I was the worst person she'd ever spoken to. Was it wrong of me to refuse to trigger warn for my videos? She says she promotes body positivity and then thin-shamed you. She is a hypocrite, not the a-hole. Everyone sucks here. I assume you're talking about thrift flipping? Your friend is right, that's rooted in fat phobia. Oftentimes, the appeal of these videos is to take big clothing that doesn't fit and tailor it to your body type, which in this case happens to be very thin. Now, you may not be intending to show off your thin body, but intent isn't everything. And considering that plus-size clothing is so hard to find, and thrift stores are often a source of that size clothing, it's a bit unfair that now thinner people are buying bigger clothing in droves to alter them to fit. It wouldn't be a big deal if you bought clothing that was only a size or two above yours, but if it's so big you look like you're in a Jenny Craig commercial, then yeah, you're the a-hole. Someone responds to this comment, "What are you talking about? She absolutely does not need to put a trigger warning. You're basically saying that she should hide her body as to not offend people. There are no trigger warnings in real life." Yeah, it's her body. She isn't a walking trigger. I just had to highlight those comments because they are really what my thoughts summarize into. I agree to the whole idea that intent isn't everything. If that was the case, then I'm sure we wouldn't be so bad on Hitler. But extremely dramatic and unnecessary analogies aside, someone who is not even actively trying to make the focus of their content about their body is not under the merits of needing a trigger warning. If that was the case, then you'd have to also justify that all women on Instagram that like to pose selfies and other beauty-looking selves of themselves just to, show their self-esteem, let them be proud of themselves. Well, they can't do that because that triggers me as a disgusting male who has masturbatory habits. She can't do that because that triggers me. That triggers me! Again, you can argue that's an unnecessary and rather extremified comparison, but then who are you to define what is a trigger for someone or not? Is poon addiction not a thing? Does it not affect men's mental health? Point is, you can apply trigger warnings to things everywhere you want. Reality is, you're not going to get better from dealing with these things if you keep hiding them everywhere. Like what, should we all walk around in giant cardboard boxes? Hello, stranger who's clearly insecure about themselves. I just want to let you know, just so you're aware, so you don't get triggered by it, but under this box, I have an amazing rack. With that weird rant out of the way, I'm gonna end today's video here. I hope you had some fun and enjoyed today's content. I'm discovering more fun subreddits to read, and I'm looking forward to some of the other ones I check out tomorrow. But this video's clearly gone on for long enough, so I'm just gonna wrap things up quickly. Thank you again for watching. You've been amazing. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and blah, 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 all that stupid button pressing stuff. My name has been Jack. You have been a lovely person to talk to as always, and I look forward to doing it again with you soon. Bye-bye.